Welcome back to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn Endgame. Last time, Ike finally claimed final victory over the Black Knight, or rather, General Zelkius. And now we're moving on with the tower, and this time we're going to hear a lot of ancient history, a lot of backstory from very far back in the history of this world, and we'll be fighting our strongest opponent yet. But we will have help. You can actually faintly see this image in the background of the title screen sometimes, even before beating the game. We're finally going to learn the significance of it. There's actually a very good line here if you bring Tib on. He says, "This is the story of the grand creation, right? Heard it. Call me when it's over." We've heard that name before. They were mentioned as being responsible for the ancient ruins back in Path of Radiance's Chapter 15. Yeah, back then we thought they were only Bjork ancestors too. Nyla and Kanegas get a few lines here as well if they're deployed. It was many thousands of years ago, after all. And that's the title of this game in the Japanese version. Yeah, attaching labels to different groups of people only makes that kind of thing worse. We've heard about this a little bit, but now we're finally getting the full story. Well, if you're gonna trust anyone's word on it, I trust a goddess. If Nyla's deployed here, she actually mentions that how they know the tale, in Hatari is very different as well. There, they believe the flood was divine punishment, but that's all they know. That's who we'll be fighting this time. I mean, we couldn't have a Fire Emblem Endgame and not fight a dragon. I think Sacred Stones is one of the few Fire Emblem games where all you fight is dragon zombies, although you do technically fight Mia's zombified father in that one. So, yes, when she says blessed, she really means blessed. Lekate only thought he was blessed, but Deginsia really is. But Yune has a plan. And those are Ragnall and Alondite. Now, Soen is interesting because not a lot is really known about him apart from two things. He was the second king of Bednion, and the in-game glossary actually gets this wrong and says he was the second king of the Beast Tribe, but that's not true. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the Beast Tribe as a nation, or as in Gallia, didn't exist back then. Bednion had many Laguz kings until racism became too severe. So he was the second king of Bednion, and also, he is Stefan's ancestor. This is more heavily implied in the Japanese version, but yes, Stefan is descended from Soen. So there's a really interesting line in the extended script here that I'm annoyed was cut from this version. She says, Yune says that she, at the time, also blessed her soldiers' armor, but they were no match for Ashura's blessing. Now, why that's so interesting? Remember that scene there? Look closely at the armor of the soldiers those people are fighting. It's black. Now, remember back in Path of Radiance, the Black Knight and Ashnard's armor was said to be ancient artifacts that were blessed by the goddess. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be, but I don't recall them ever specifically saying Ashura then. It's of my opinion that the Black Knight and Ashnard's armor in Path of Radiance were both blessed by Yune, not Ashura. And it makes sense because Ragnall was blessed by Ashura and it's able to damage both of them. So, yeah, I like to think that it's not officially confirmed, but it's pretty heavily implied that those two actually had Yune blessed armor. So, here is where we get into the gimmick of the rest of Endgame. We also have a few info conversations to go through as well. So, here is how the Goddess's Blessing works. Everyone's currently equipped weapon will get blessed by Yune. Blessed weapons gain infinite durability, are able to damage enemies who are blessed by Ashura, and on easy mode only also grant +5 to all stats when equipped, but this is not easy mode. So, for everyone, it's recommended you equip their SS ranked weapons or other things like that. Now, a few little technicalities here. You can't bless staves, unfortunately, so no infinite use staves. You can't bless magic cards, obviously. Laguz weapons automatically end up getting blessed. It doesn't really affect the weapon itself, but it just gives them the ability to damage enemies who are blessed. And other than that, you should all just equip your best weapons. So, thankfully we still have access to the convoy, so it's time to buff up Micaiah's light rank. And now, let's use an arm scroll to buff up her staff rank. Okay, good. Now, she doesn't need that anymore. Actually, we don't need Restore in this chapter either. So let's go ahead and take, I guess she can take another Physics Staff. Nisala still has Rex Aura currently, so let's go ahead and grab that. And I believe Matrona is in the convoy? Who has that, actually? Or Soph has it. Where's Soph? Yep, thankfully he has it. So let's go ahead and give her that. And equip Rexaura. Thankfully it's not too heavy for her. Rexaura's not exactly the best weapon, but I might as well bless an SS rank weapon for her. So there's that equipped. Sanaki will have Cymbeline blessed. Edward, okay, we have a new weapon for Edward, actually. And yeah, Ike can use Alondite. Alondite's stats are completely identical to Ragnall, but anyone with an SS rank in swords can use it. So, Ike actually cannot get Alondite blessed. It's impossible for that to happen, so let's go ahead and give Mia the Tempest Blade back. Oh, and yeah, my Sword Masters are all going to be taking Worm Slayers for this chapter, for obvious reasons. Other good weapons to bless are Brave weapons. So, if you have, like, multiple characters and you don't have SS weapons for all of them, Brave weapons are your next best bet for blessings. They're a little weak, especially the Brave Sword, so they might not even be able to damage some enemies with, Goddess Blessing, but still, it's better than nothing. Or Forge weapons, they're also good, so of course, equip Excalibur. There are no restrictions on what you get blessed. You don't actually have to bless SS rank weapons. You can bless, like, a basic Wind Tome if you wanted to. And something that a lot of people do like doing, yeah, okay, Rolf has a double bow, that's good. Pure Water might actually help in this chapter, but anyway, maybe not for now. Ilincia will obviously get Amity blessed, since you can't bless Staves. Mia will get the Varg Kati blessed. Nephany will... Yeah, see, here's the thing. One of you two will get the Brave Lance blessed, and the other will get Wishblade blessed. I think I'll give Aaron the Brave Lance, because he's less likely to actually double things. As much of a meme as it would be to bless this, I mean, it's decent, but I'd probably rather bless the Brave Lance. Only 45 attack with the Brave Lance, though, which is not that great against some later game enemies, but that is 4 chances of getting impaled. Let's obviously grab the Wishblade, though, because we need that blessed. Peleus, obviously, is going to bless Balbereth. Soth would bless the Base Lard, but he can't use it, so... You know what? I have a spare arm scroll. No one else is going to get much use out of it. Why not? Even though Peshkart is his canonical weapon, let's just bless Base Lard for good measure. And Kurthnagar and Leanne don't need to worry about blessing. I may actually want to give you a magic card, though. Because there's something funny that I want to show off in this chapter. Okay, so let's check. Now, I should also mention, if Ike is equipping something other than Ragnall, he's actually forced to get Ragnall blessed. Ike has to bless Ragnall. So, yeah, if you try, if you try and have Ike bless something that is not Ragnall, Yune will yell at you. So I'll try and show that now. Yeah, for Nolan, blessing Tarvos might not be a bad idea if you've got him in Endgame. Might as well have you grab a second elixir. I probably have some. Yeah, I got a lot of elixirs. Anyone else need elixirs? You might need an elixir. Don't really need that if I've got Blessed Irvan. Oh, I completely forgot you could use lances, but it doesn't really matter anyway. I think Physic is fine. Yeah, you don't actually need Restore. So let's... I'm running a little low on Physic Staff, so maybe you can just take Recover. Rolf is fine. Nephany's fine. I'm okay with those weapons on Ilincia. Actually, I don't need Restore. Okay. Don't really need these at the moment. We do have several info conversations here, though. I'm going to save this one for last. In fact, I'll do this one first. So this one is different depending on which Heron you brought to Endgame. You get the same item regardless, but who talks to them is different. So in this version, with Leanne, it's Micaiah. I believe for Rayson, it's Ike, I think, and for Raphael, it's someone else. So yeah, more ancient tongue that I have to translate. Yeah, the skill that we're getting is one that's... I mean, you technically could give it to Leanne, but I doubt you get much use out of it. It's another guard scroll. And Sanaki. And, yeah, more lines that are blatant spoilers. There's a line in FE7 that's like that, too. Yes, and that means, by extension, well, you get the idea. It should be very, very obvious by now. Yeah, I think Ike's already figured it out. I don't know, considering how many people it did get to. For now, let's ignore that. We've got a bigger problem. Lots of very big problems, as Tiban would say. And we get a Pavie scroll. Now this one requires Soph and Micaiah to have an A support. And it's also Soph's only dialogue in all of Endgame, I believe. So why he's forced to Endgame, I have no idea. Yes, yes, you are. Please know when two people need to be left alone. And here's how these two first met. I do admit that this scene does make Soph and Micaiah's relationship a little awkward because, yeah, they can get married and she first knew him when he was a child, but anyway. Yeah, so Ike finally knows what this is. This was pretty obvious by now. Soph, in general, was one giant signal hook in Path of Radiance. So, judging by this, we must have just missed Micaiah and Bednion. I'd imagine that if we had met her, she might have ended up joining our army, although admittedly, yeah, she'd be fighting against Dayan, so probably not. Hey, Ike has branded friends. I mean, that's perfectly fine. And given that Soren only confesses that he's a branded in his A support with Ike, yeah, Ike and Soren's A support's probably canon. And the way that Ike treats Branded is exactly the same as it was in the last game. Like, I seem to remember Soph actually, I don't know, like, I think he did actually call Lagoos subhumans at some points back in Path of Radiance, maybe in supports. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, I mean, given that he grew up in Dayan, it probably makes sense. So this conversation strengthens Micaiah's resolve. And we have an item for this, by the way. It's just an elixir, but really the main thing is that conversation. I'm going to convoy that elixir because if Micaiah gets hit, she's likely to get one-shotted, so she's not going to get much of a chance to use that elixir. Okay, then. Yeah, I'm doing this just to show off what happens if you try and go into the blessing without, Whipping Ragnall. So, yeah, if you try and get blessed without equipping Ragnall, this happens. And Ike is now forced to equip Ragnall and get it blessed. Notice how Kurth Narkom, when he's transformed, actually hovers above the ground. He doesn't take bonus damage from bows, but he does still move like a flyer, so he can fly over terrain and holes. And so it's time for everyone to get blessed. I love how everyone turns to each other after that. Yune did allude to the whole blessing thing much earlier in the game, in 4-1, when she said that she could bless us if we wanted, but it would take a lot of energy, and she wants to save that for later. And also the fact that Ashura's blessings are a little weaker across the Disciples of Order because there's so many of them. Yep, Yune will be taking no further part until the end of this chapter. And now it's time to face a dragon. And sadly, two other dragons. Well, one dragon we know and one we barely know. He had about 3 lines in the last game. So Daginsia's line here is different depending on which Lagoos royals you brought to Endgame. He addresses all of them differently. Since when has he ever listened to anyone? Daginsia is just another person on his backstab list. So, yeah, not a lot of people are big fans of Daginsia after this scene. He's kind of an idiot. Doesn't really make much sense to just do nothing and wait for the whole world to be essentially destroyed. He pretty much has nothing to gain from this, but there is one way that I feel Daginsia's actions slightly make sense, and I'll talk about that at the very end of the chapter. He alludes to it a little bit in boss conversations, but it's the only interpretation I think that makes his actions at least slightly make sense. Admittedly though, he does make for a cool boss fight, and that's probably the one reason why the fanbase doesn't absolutely despise this guy with a passion. Because at least this is very cool. and wait until you see his actual stats. Deginsi is so huge, he actually has, like, an invisible skill that's called, like, big or huge or something. I'll talk about the effect of that when we get into the actual fight. Well, actually, Kurth has a choice. As I alluded to earlier, none of the enemies in this chapter, not even the generic ones, will attack or counterattack Kurth, Naga, and Ina. They also will not attack Heron, so all three of them are mostly safe. I say mostly for a reason, I'll go into that in a second. However, firstly, oh, please, 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 Nisala and Leanne be at a B support. Yes! I do not have to replay the last chapter. But now I'm going to have to stall out a few more chapters to make sure they hit an A by the end of the game. Okay, that was the moment of truth. Now, before we do anything else, let's just go ahead and check out the map. Oh boy, this chapter. This chapter's particularly infamous among the fanbase because we're fighting a whole ton of dragons. Not since Mystery of the Emblem have we fought this many dragons in one chapter. The dragons are slow, but they hit hard. 56 attack on generic enemies physically. And the white dragons hit magically for a massive amount of attack power as well. So, yeah. Also, though, there are actually a few untransformed dragons among their number. This is our first time facing untransformed dragons in the whole series. Technically speaking, Path of Radiance does have data for generic untransformed red dragons, but because all the red dragons you fight in that game are feral ones, you never get to see it. We have a few of these guys right here. Yeesh. If you thought Mage dragons were bad in Arcania, you've got another thing coming. We also have Nicaea, 48 magic, yeah. And Gareth, 44 strength and 42 defense. Don't worry about these two though, as long as you ignore them, you don't need to worry about killing them. Kurth, Naga, and Ina can talk to them, but in order to recruit these two, because yes, they are recruitable, we just have to finish the chapter without killing either of them, which isn't too hard overall. And then we have the big guy himself. Yeah! 100 HP, 50 strength and 50 defense, almost maximized maximized, that's a word, but I guess that fits this guy. Almost maximized resistance, and 25 might 1 to 2 range breath with a ridiculous hit rate. Look at this. 242 accuracy. And this is a unique class, and he also has this skill. You might remember this skill from its cameo in Path of Radiance on Sephiroth. This is the Goddess Blessing. It makes you completely immune to damage from non-bless weapons. Don't attack him with non-bless Worm Slayers, by the way. I've made that mistake once before. And each turn, it restores HP equal to the user's luck. So he heals 30 per turn. What the game doesn't tell you is, Mantle has a built-in Nile and Fortune skill. So he cannot be affected by your skills, and he can't be critical. Remember that, because again, the game doesn't actually say it. He also has Nighttide, because not likely to do much. Form Shift, he's going to stay transformed the whole map anyway. And this skill. Ire is such a bizarre mastery skill, it's literally just a critical hit. So basically, he just has an additional 36% chance of instantly criticaling you, in addition to his 18 crit rate. But if you have Nile, you can avoid that. So, proper distribution of Niles is essential to this chapter. Ike's going to take one of them, and Nisala is definitely going to take one more. That means I have to get rid of Savior. But yeah, your Laguz Royals, whoever they are, should definitely have the Nile skill. Oh, I could give you Dragonfoe too, but I'd have to remove Vantage, and I really like Vantage on you. Because yeah, remember when I said earlier that you really, really, really want Dragonfoe by endgame? This is why. You're going to get a Dep back. And let's see. Yeah, Rolf will probably double everything on this map anyway. Soren, maybe not so much. Also, we have Parody. Parody is a decent substitute for Nile if you don't have that. You can go ahead and cancel Deginsia's skills with that, but you'll cancel your own skills too. Oh yeah, one thing that I should also point out, marksmen are extremely useful in this chapter because they can attack dragons from outside their range, including Daginsia. So I really like bringing a marksman to endgame for that reason. Let's see. Oh, also, I guess I can talk about it now. That silly gimmick strategy for endgame I was talking about, I guess I can say it while I bonus experience people. That silly gimmicky strategy for endgame with Bastion is to give him bolting and get bolting blessed. Yeah, I think at this point Ike's actually capped strength, so let's give him another level up. At this point, for the majority of my party, it's going to be far better to level up using bonus experience. And yeah, Ike caps at 37 speed, which is actually very high. Okay, let's see my other characters. Yeah, Soren could use a little bit of extra speed. That's good. Could buff up his defense a bit, but let's not do that just yet. But yeah, Bless Bolting, which you need to disarm and steal with Heather earlier in the game. But Bless Bolting is an extremely fun trick to use in this chapter. It's not really, you know, that much of a serious strategy, but it's at least pretty funny. There's no real reason not to cap out Jill here. I think she's almost maxed out everything. Yep, Jill is our first character with all stats capped. Get used to it, because it's actually pretty easy to do that with endgame characters. So yeah, Jill is fully capped, quite fitting for the character who I actually voted #1 on my top characters from Tellius. And Nia may as well take a level up. No reason to be stingy with bonus experience now. And yes, this one will actually be split into a Part A and Part B, just because of how long those earlier cutscenes were. Okay, there we go. Cap those two stats. I guess we can... can't get him all the way, though. I guess I'll give him one more level. Just to give him a little bit of extra defense. Guess you can take one more level too. Absolutely no shame in spamming bonus experience before this chapter. Aaron's already capped most of his good stats anyway. Suppose it's only fair to give Mia another level, considering I've given Edward a bit of favoritism. I think for now I'll save the rest. Okay, repositioning time. Thankfully there's some Wardwood here. So characters who use physical weapons but have high resistance are going to be effective on this front. Which means Nephany, basically, and also actually Jill. Though, actually, her resistance is pretty bad. Mia, nah. Okay, over here, I kind of want my magic users over here to take out those red dragons quickly. Even though they'll take stupid amounts of damage in return. Yeah, they put cover here. This is basically a lesson in using terrain to mitigate the damage dragons do to you. I suppose you'll go wherever Jill does. I can probably rely on Sanaki's stillness. I actually think that's probably a decent enough setup. Okay, I am currently using all of my Niles. But as for everyone else... I wouldn't mind having Pavis on one of my Swordmasters. Although cancel for them is effectively kind of the same thing as long as they attack first. Oh yeah, I haven't given Dragon Foe to anyone either. You know what? Well, Corrosion's useless here because none of these... In fact, Corrosion is useless for the rest of the game. I forgot to mention something, but, Endgame 2, last time we ever fight human enemies in the game. Aside from a certain boss. But yeah, last time we ever fight generic human enemies in the game. So any weapons that are effective against cavalry, armors, totally useless now. And also, Corrosion is sadly now useless because every enemy has infinite use weapons from here on out. So Elincia can also get rid of Corrosion. But you know what I'm going to do here? I'm actually going to... I'm going to give Rolf Dragonfoe. Because I like shooting dragons from outside their attack range. And Elincia will take... Let's see, Shade might not be that bad of an idea. Sage is also decent, though. No real point giving her, Dragonfoe or anything like that, or any skills for fighting Tekinsia, because, yeah, her total attack power is not enough to damage him. Edward has exactly enough attack power to not do damage to him, unfortunately. Nia does exactly 1 damage to him. But yeah, because the double bow is extremely good and gives +5 strength. Is there anyone here who could use Provoke? So much skill management, I'm sorry about this, but yeah, this is a pretty significant battle. Oh, obviously you don't need Discipline anymore. Provoke would be a really dumb idea. Might as well stick Shade on you. Oh yeah, you don't need that, because you don't need to worry about getting attacked by anything in this chapter except for exactly one thing. Ike might as well take that just for an insurance policy. Not that he really needs it. Soren doesn't exactly need Resolve, because he doubles most things on this map. And Counter is not bad because we'll be taking massive damage from the dragons on this map. We also have Pass. Guess you can take that. And Peleus will take Vantage Resolve. Any other supports I can do? Well, these two can increase their support. Oh, you need a new support, actually. Well... not like there's anything better for me to do. And with that, it's time to save and get ready to fight the dragons.